had with some of the students this year is that they did not recognize that they could carry some of these skills over with them. They had made a separation in their mind. Oh, here's drumline and here's region, right? Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, when we started to dig further into the region music, I was noticing after they would perform a segment of whatever etude it was, I would ask them, okay, what are some of the things on the list? Because they clearly appeared not happy about it. What are some of the things on the list that you think you would like to fix? And they would immediately point to things like buzz roll quality or, measure 17 or my dynamic contrast. And I would ask them, on a specific thing like, why do you think your buzz roll quality here isn't as good as it should be? And they would list off a number of different techniques and skills and fundamentals that they already knew about. They already had knowledge of. Maybe he had already even practiced. And then I asked them, well, why do you think that you're not doing those? And they would be stumped. And then I would say, because your standard is too low. Because you have a standard high on all of the things that you're doing in marching band and in drumline. You've demonstrated that at an extremely high level. And for whatever reason, we're viewing this as a separate entity, a separate, completely different thing. But the second you can start to see them as all of the same thing, then if you're excellent in one thing, you can be excellent at all of it. Yeah, that is something that we're continuing to try and work through, and having a variety of different challenges throughout the year, it gives us a chance to continually further that concept.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those 5 weeks, each week there will be a 1-hour masterclass during the week. 1 hour for upper battery, 1 hour for bass, and 1 hour for front ensemble, where I'll teach the upper battery and the bass. TeamIslas will teach the front ensemble. It is very common at these master classes. We invite everyone to come to any of them, anything that you're wanting to audition for, right? And it's very common to have seniors that have essentially graduated, right, or won't be in the group, come and hang around and help out for some of the incoming kids. That's always a really good kind of passing of the torch, if you will, or transitionary thing. Early in this process, we're looking to define procedures, right? What are the expectations? How do you set up the stands? How are you holding the sticks? What happens when the Met comes on? How you mark time? Things like that. And cover essentially a couple exercises a week. I like to personally do, I'm not sure how TeamIslas does it, but I like to do a mixture of maybe what are some of the quote-unquote simpler exercises and some of the quote-unquote more difficult exercises. In the past, I used to kind of just go in the order from easiest to most difficult, but that meant I wasn't touching the spree until kind of like 2 weeks before the audition, which was never a good idea. I also like to do a lot of down the line playing, meaning students are playing by themselves, because this puts them in a very intense, high pressure situation immediately. And I get opportunities to talk about how to handle that with grace and poise through your breathing, through what you think about before you play, why that sticks up in time is important, so the attack is important. But also it's really, really good to have your really strong quad kid that's going to be a senior that is going to be a section leader just throw down on that roll exercise, and then that incoming freshman kid that thinks they're good but has never used a Met in their life immediately have to play it after him, and everyone in the room can hear, including that kid. Right? And a good example of this also last year was with the bass thing. Pretty close to the audition, I knew that kid that was going to be a senior, I knew that he hadn't been working on the etude very much because I'd heard it in lesson. And so at the end of the bass masterclass, I said, okay, let's hear you play it. And he really kind of stumbled through it. And then I looked at this freshman that was on JV and I said, okay, let's hear you play it. And he crushed it. And so everyone in the room gets to hear, it's yes. Like, oh, hey, this is what's going down. So, I don't know, TeamIslas, do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
The front, Mr. Shear, you can probably confirm this, but the front ensemble world tends to be a little different in terms of the confidence level of those types of kids.
Oh yeah.
Surprisingly, I will have students that are achieving circles around what I was achieving when I was their age, and still have doubts and anxiety and all of those things. So a big part of this masterclass period, and usually this is reserved for maybe the second or third or later masterclasses, is having individuals play for each other. The way that I like to do this with the exercises is I might have a student volunteer, maybe an upperclassman or someone who's already been in the varsity group, volunteer to play said exercise. And I'll have them play it for the group. And then before we talk about it, I will ask the student who played to rank on a scale of 1 to 5, how nervous were you for this performance just now? And every single time they are stressed and nervous and uncomfortable. And one of the takeaways there that I try to convince the younger students of is, despite the fact that they are nervous, they are still playing at this high level. That it's not just the incoming freshmen or the kids that are in the JV trying to get in the varsity that feel these emotions. Everybody does, regardless of how well you can play. And so it's a good example to demonstrate that and to show them, like, this is the path. It doesn't just instantly get easier all of a sudden. It's still going to be hard, but if these guys can achieve it, you can achieve it too. And then another thing that I very intentionally try to do is give opportunities towards the end of the masterclass for students to perform a segment of their solos. And this serves a lot of really great purposes, one of which is it gives the younger students a chance to see what's possible, because the solo portion of the audition, again, is tailored to the level of the student and not necessarily something that everyone has to play the same thing. So we'll have some really advanced players playing some very mature literature that's really, really impressive. And it's cool to get to show that off and for the younger kids to be inspired by that. But it's also an opportunity, again, after they're done playing, to talk about it. And I will first ask other members of the group the question very specifically, what did they do that was cool? Not what do they need to do better, what is a mistake they need to solve. It's directed towards something positive. And that's good because with these students that lack confidence, it puts their mindset on things that are positive. But it's also good, and this is from a player's perspective. I'm sure the two of you can attest to this as well. Sometimes you concentrate so much on the problems and the mistakes that you forget to realize how good it actually is. Yeah. And so it's great for those students who perform to hear that from their peers. They can hear it from me, and it means a little bit, but from their peers, it's going to mean so much more. So that's a great opportunity. And then the final question I'll offer to the student that played, okay, well, what's something that you want to fix? Which is good for me to know that they're on the right track, they're paying attention to the right things. But it's also good for the other students to hear so they can know, like, even with someone playing at this higher level, they still have things that they're continuing to work on and strive for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I just, what I hear both of you saying and what I experienced as someone watching you guys implement this and partnering with you to implement it is, hey, we are going to tell our students, in order to get a spot in this group, you have to earn it. Okay, great. But you're telling your students, here's exactly what you need to do. Here's the day of your audition. Here's what you're going to be asked to play. Here's the tempo you're going to be asked to play it at. And we're going to give you over a month of detailed instruction in a safe environment. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to make sure we reference back to this document. Again, like Doug, I know you said this, but like it's written down. There's no ambiguity. There's no secrets. Nobody has any questions. What I need to do to get into the group is listed right here. And I have over a month of people helping me get there. Like that, that is kind of regardless of whether or not, like maybe you say, you know what, Mr. Bush, I don't want to do a spatial timing exercise. I want to do something else. Okay, great. But the structure that you do it in, right? Like nobody, teacher, student, parent, their sister who opens their band binder or whatever, like everybody knows exactly what is expected and exactly how to achieve what they want, which is a spot in the group. So I think there's the structure of what you guys do is so important. I just want to highlight that.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Shear. Okay, it's the day of the audition. The audition's happening now. Listen, Linda. If you are a director of percussion, I need you to listen up right now, because chances are you're one of there's very few of you that are in the privileged position where you have a full-time or even part-time paraprofessional that helps you with the gig, whether that's district paid or booster paid. If you're one of those lucky people, awesome. Good for you. That's great. Most of you probably aren't having that luxury. You are a solo individual trying to steer this entire percussion ship. You might even be a band director. So when it comes to the day of the audition, you need to have at least one guest judge. There must be minimum 2 people in the room, you and someone else. Ideally, this person is obviously someone that you respect, but also someone that does not know the kids and comes in with no preconceived biases. This is protecting you from any onslaught of parent repercussion once you post the results, where the parents come back and say, you've always hated little Susie. That's why you didn't make her the cymbal section. I say, hey, no, Mr. Lebrecht came in here, and look at the score. He wrote down this note. He gave her a 15, said the cymbal strap broke or whatever, right? Doesn't matter, But I think more importantly than that, is again, you're signaling to the students, this is important, right? I haven't just predetermined your placement before it has happened. And it was tradition with Mr. Lebrecht for years. We would go to a great Tex-Mex restaurant and literally close it out. We would spend hours upon hours. We would go out with Mr. Shear, close the restaurant out, spending hours and hours. We'd go out with Mr. Bingaman, Mr. Osmore, we are the last people. We are being kicked out, and we are still arguing over who the third vibe should be, right? Every single one of these. And that's because, my goodness, guys, it is so important that we get the right kid in the right spot. And having people, even if it's just a single person whose opinion you trust and value and respect, come in to kind of help with that you can listen to, that can potentially catch some of your blind spots or see or hear some of the things you're not hearing, is extremely important in kind of solidifying this. The other thing is, how are you going to pick your section leader, right? This is something else that is denoted early in that process, where first off, winter auditions.
Every day.
Every day. So that factors in huge, right? And then second, we specifically with our etudes have, at least in the battery, it's slightly fluctuates given the year, but most years you write a 24 bar or 32 bar tag on the end of the etude. So if I'm just auditioning to make the snare line, I play the etude, get to the release, tugga dugga dugga, oosh, I'm done, right? But if I'm auditioning for section leader, dugga dugga da da, cha-ra, I just go into my tag. And I'm not sure if Mr. Shear remembers, but I feel like that was the nail in the coffin for Miss Umuni, for Eliana, on the story he said. There were 3 students that year that were auditioning for section leader and drumline captain. They were all 3 qualified. They were all 3 great drummers. 2 of them came in, played the etude, played their tag, and it was great. And this has to be written. They can use MuseScore and whatever. But when they walk in the room, they have printed copies that they hand the judges so that we have it there, right? Because we're looking at this too. Okay, how well did they handle the notation? How professional does this look? What is the title? Is it, yo, bro, section leader or die, right? Or, you know what I mean? Like what, all these things are being evaluated because the attention to detail matters in this program, right? But man, Miss Umuni got to her tag. It was like an alien spaceship had landed. And it was so virtuosically impressive that the whole adjudication panel just began to applaud. Like it was just a involuntary response.
Yeah, a natural response.
A natural response. Oh my, wow, right? And those are the moments, if that wasn't in there, she wouldn't have had that moment to showcase. There was no other opportunity in the, requirements for her to showcase, no, hey guys, I am at this level. You can trust me. You should put me here, right? And it was the same opportunity that was given to everybody else, right? So I think, how to choose a section leader is a whole nother episode or series of episodes. But from a literal technical playing facility, I think, or playing standpoint, that's how we approach it. This all sounds great, but sometimes you're listening to this and you get Mr. Bush. I don't know, dude. I got these hesitations about putting in and implementing some of these things. I know that Mr. Shear sure did when I brought it to him initially, right?
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Bush, I'm going to backtrack just for 1 second and point out that unlike a lot of auditions the students do in high school, this is not a blind audition. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm a freshman snare drummer. Little Zach comes in and I'm staring at Mr. Bush, Miss Islas, a guest judge who I'm now worried about, and whoever else is there. But I have to look at you. I have to say out loud with my mouth. I can't post it on my Twitter, whatever. Like I have to look at you with my eyes and say out loud with my mouth in the year 2024, please put the metronome on 120 beats per minute so I can play 8 on a hand.
Yeah. And you don't realize this. You just got half a point more from Mr. Bush for using the word please.
Yes.
And speaking audibly so that Mr. Bush could hear you.
Yes. And I again, not to like, diverge here, but that's culture, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is actually something, and this is a future podcast, but if we were to talk about selecting beginners, I'm a really firm believer that when I meet that student in 5th grade, right? They're coming to me. I've got a line of kids out the door that want to be in the percussion class. If I look at them and say, hi, my name is Mr. Shear. What's your name? And they cannot say, for whatever reason, they look at their mom. They do this. Obviously, we want to be sensitive to students and take into account everybody's different. But if a kid, I guess a better way to say this is like, if a kid says, hi, Mr. Shear, my name is Johnny and I'm ready to be in the percussion class. Yeah. Okay, giddy up. That is a sign of some things that we're looking for. And same thing in the Drumline audition. And just, I think it's, important that the students at Capel are being asked to do that in their Drumline audition. And I would directly tie that to, maybe that's one of the reasons when we get to the end of the season at their Drumline contest in November, the group looks so professional. Even when Mike McIntosh or Bill Bachman or Jeff Osdemore are standing right in front of the quads during the quad break or whatever, they're still nailing it. Well, maybe that's because in the Drumline audition process, they had to walk into the room with judges staring at them and tell them what tempo to put them at on, et cetera,
They had to deal with that stress.
Yes.
On an individual level.
Absolutely.
Then it's much easier to handle as a group.
Yeah, yeah. And before they dealt with it, like real deal, everybody staring at them, like you said, Miss Islas, they had a chance, that freshman student who wants to be on marimba, and Miss Islas is like, oh, play us 30 seconds of your solo, maybe in week 2. So I just think that's an important thing to emphasize.
And the week before, the entire goal is not like, oh, keep your taps down. The entire goal is, this is how Hickson Gracie says you should breathe in a high pressure situation, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the thing you should literally be thinking the moment the metric comes on. This is where you should be, right? So they're set up to be successful.
Yeah, they're set up to have tools to deal with the stress and not just send into the room and said, okay, good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mr. Bush, this is like literally what happened to me. Like you kind of laid this out. You said the students will work hard and this is how it can look and we can do this. And I was like, listen, that's great. I'm sure I believe you, Mr. Bush. But what you may not realize about my job here is that when a parent, doesn't like the position that I put their child in, I'm going to hear about it. And Mr. Bush, I'm at a school where some parents have lawyers, and they got one for themselves and one for their kid. And what if it's the band boosters president's child or whatever, like, is it really worth it for me to say, again, like I used that illustration of that student earlier, I know you tapped the line last year, but now this underclassman is now in her spot. I don't know if I can do this. And this is a hesitation that I have heard good friends of mine say, yeah, man, I don't know that I can do that at my school. The parents here, it just probably wouldn't work. So, I would say that is just a mistake of being reactive versus proactive. And this is going to come into play with all the hesitations you might have about how to structure your Drumline audition here. So I would argue that in this process, if you're doing it right, the parents are actually your biggest ally. So, like, for instance, when you announce, and this is like day one is earlier than you think it is, right? So, okay, we're going to have our meeting where we explain Drumline auditions. We hand out the packet. That's the Monday before spring break. Great. Okay, a month before that, I'm going to email the parents, and the subject line of that email is going to be an opportunity to help your child succeed. That's the title of the email. And that email is going to say, hey, parent, I know that you want for your child success. You want them to earn the spots they've been given. You want them to have hard work laid out in front of them and you want them to succeed, right? Okay, great. Here's how they do that. I want you to see this packet. I want you to have a chance to talk to your kid about it. I want you to know what we're doing at school to help your child be successful. Here it is in black and white. And if you have any hesitations, especially, Patricia, you mentioned 8th to 9th grade. Those parents are like, marching band, what? Oh my gosh, these drumline auditions. Wait, it's the week before spring break. You're talking about drumline?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Well, hey, if you have any hesitations whatsoever, mom, dad, parent, please come to the meeting. I would love to meet you. I would love to talk with you about that. I would love for you to hear me tell your child, and again, in black and white, exactly what, when, how, and why to be successful in my class here at school. So that's number one. Number two, the second objection that I know, or the second hesitation that I know I had to deal with and is very common is like, okay, wait a minute, Mr. Bush. From spring break until the end of the year, you kind of want us to do drumline auditions. We have UIL music that's going on during that time. And the band directors, man, if that triangle is out of time, I'm hearing about it, and we have solo contest that's going on during that time. How do I manage these things? How do I make sure that I can still, have my students playing solos that make sure they're well-rounded and I'm not just having a kid play snare drum all year or something like that? Well, that's actually a really important part of making sure this audition process is successful. And again, here, I can refer to a mistake I made. We had a student come in, a wonderful student, coming from 8th to 9th grade, who was auditioning for every instrument. She wanted to play like xylophone, quads, bass 2, bass 4, and snare drum, And so she had all this music for the audition, and there's something to be said about helping that student pare down what they auditioned for. And I know you guys do that, right? But also she had other solos that she was being asked to perform for her 8th grade solo contest that was happening on top of all this because I didn't do a good job of making sure those things worked together. So, she ended up having like 20 pieces of music to play. And although she was a wonderful player, she wasn't able to show her skills as well as possible because she was being asked to do too much. So we streamlined all those things to make sure hey, okay, if you're playing a solo for 8th grade, that's going to also be the mallet solo you play in the front ensemble audition. Or if you're playing this snare drum etude, that it is a snare drum solo, for the drumline audition, because you want to audition for snare drum, that's the solo you're going to use for your 8th grade solo contest too. And that's just an example that might look different in your context, but there's a way to make those things work together. The last thing I would say is,
not to interrupt you,
go ahead, Mr. Bush.
Scheer, but one thing I would piggyback on that with the UIL and the band is that, when we're talking at Coppell and the officer talking with Mr. Wynn and, oh man, does it look like she's going to maybe make varsity this year or make the baseline? You know who the first person would go ask? Mr. Slovak, Mr. Muhammad, Michelle
who were their band directors.
How are they doing in band?
Yeah.
Oh, we had a student last year that was 100% that was kind of on the fence, and their band director was like, oh, he's doing great. He shows up early. He's staying late, help him put up chairs and stands. He's really prepared. It's like, there you go. Because winter auditions
every day.
That's right. Yes. And just as with my percussion director hat on here, right? Like I'm the guy kind of constantly worried, am I going to miss something and something's going to go wrong? And I'm going to realize, oh, wait a minute. The kids in the 4th band never got the parts to the march or whatever, if I'm concerned that I'm at a school where, man, we really prioritize the UIL music. Our school has gotten ones for 20 years or whatever, right? and if because the basses are more worried about the bass split, they mess something up at UIL and all of a sudden we get a 2, oh man, I'm toast, right? Well, I would say that, again, proactive versus reactive. Number one, the students need to know, like you just said, that nobody gets a spot in the drum line that doesn't take care of business in the bands. But number two, I, as the percussion director, have communicated with those band directors long before I ever started rolling out this really cool drumline music and these exercises. I've made sure that the parts were assigned correctly. I've talked to the band directors about any potential potholes. I've made sure the students have their sectional schedule or whatever it is. I have taken care of business on the UIL band music side of things. I've communicated with those other directors, and culture is caught, not taught. The students are seeing that I am putting time and effort into that. And there is an expectation that this will be excellent no matter what. So I think as long as you're proactive, not reactive when it comes to parents or solos or UIL music, there is a way for everyone involved, from the middle school assistant band director to the parent to everybody, to work together. So all these things are helping the students achieve their maximum potential and nothing's working against each other.
I have one quick story I'd love to share. This is actually arguably one of my favorite parts of the entire year, the Drumline audition process, because it's an opportunity to see what the kids are capable of, and more specifically, because sometimes miracles happen during this window of time. Our dear friend and mentor and comrade, Mr. Jimmy Lebrecht, I think coined the phrase Middle Earth kids, which is that group of kids that are not like the super high achieving Eliana Yamunis, but kids that are capable of a lot and can achieve some really great things, but left to their own devices probably won't get there. They need a little bit of a lift from the culture, the programmer, a really effective teacher. We've seen some pretty impressive things from those kids happen in this time period. And probably my favorite episode of the Coppell Drumline Auditions deals with a student that I think you were there for, Mr. Scheer, that was a bass kid, and he had been in the JV bass line for 2 years. He was going into his junior year, and I was teaching him lessons during his sophomore year, and he had expressed to me he wanted to make the varsity bass line, and he had really tried as an incoming freshman and did not have the chops, did not know what it meant, and really tried again, even harder as a freshman going into sophomore year, but still didn't quite understand what it required. And so we spent the whole year trying to develop skills and practice habits and develop his ear and awareness. And sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't. You never know. But as kind of a side note, this kid, he's one of these kids that I definitely related to. He was a quiet kid, and there are some, I have the sixth sense to be able to tell if there's a personality in there, and I could tell there was a personality in there. He was just not great at expressing it. Every single Monday in his lessons, he would show up and he would be wearing a shirt that said, "I hate Mondays." This black shirt, you remember this?
Yes.
With a grumpy cat on it. And I swear he must have in his closet had a section of Monday shirts, and they were all of this shirt because he never forgot it. And it came time for the audition, and we had, because it's a long process and there are a lot of students, it takes multiple days to go through. So we had 2 or 3 days set up for auditions. The kids had an opportunity to sign up for a time slot. And so here it is on Monday. We're sitting there for the audition, and I didn't know he was signed up for that day, but he comes into the room, and guess what? He's wearing a shirt that says, "I love Mondays." And boy, he was ready. He threw down, and aside from maybe the drumline captain, he was the most prepared audition that we saw that whole session. And guess what? He made it.
Yeah, made it. Went on to be one of the best fourth bass drummers, one of the best bass drummers that we've had, and a lot of lines of stacked great lines. Outstanding. Wow. Thank you, friends, for hanging with us today. If you've made it to here, you've made the line. Congratulations. You're on, right? It's a special gift from us to you. If you visit the TeamIslas website, for free, you'll find an entire Coppell audition process available. This is the exercises and timeline. All there. Just click on it. It's yours for free. Available right now at TeamIslas.com. If you have any questions for the podcast, send them to TeamIslas@gmail.com. That's TeamIslas, TeamIslas @gmail.com. Shout out to all the great percussion companies that support Team Islas: Mapex Majestic Percussion, Remo Drumheads, ProMark Sticks and Mallets, Sabian Cymbals, Beetle Percussion, and Lot Riot Apparel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you can play a 2-3 rumba clave with your left foot against a Sango kick pattern while improvising with your hands and chewing gum, you're probably Clayton Strout. And you should also give us a 5-star review. Remember, friends, step 1 is time, step 2 is sound, and step 3 is subscribing to the Team Islas podcast.